Do you like movies and games also? Listen, so much more, they all know. Vice, Lotus and Friends, welcome to Corrective Consciousness.
Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 174, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And Lotus Prince.
What? How did...
And Dracologist.
Oh! For a second there, I thought I was the third person and the second person.
I thought I was me.
That's where you are. You're you there?
One of the SCPs probably got out and they're now just waiting behind Lotus to get eaten.
Oh no.
So, I wanted to, in honor of Death Stranding being released this week, I wanted to have a podcast about acquired taste games, because Death Stranding is for sure an acquired taste, and I'll kind of go over as to why. This is a hard game. I can tell why, like, on Twitter there were like a lot of my favorite video game journalists were kind of lamenting having to review this game because it's a difficult game to review. It just is. I'm not gonna be spoilery or anything like that with it, but it's the kind of game that has a completely unique story and a completely unique presentation, and really, if you're a fan of Hideo Kojima's output previously, it definitely has the same kind of feeling that Metal Gear Solid 5 had. It definitely has a very similar feel, and even the characters kind of seem like they are kind of ripped out of Metal Gear in a way. Just like all the skull wearing and all that, like Skullface from Metal Gear Solid 5. There are characters that look very similar to him. Call it a style choice, or maybe he's making a transplant of those characters, but it's really interesting what they're doing here. I also kind of think that I'm beginning to believe in the conspiracy theories that Silent or PT actually was a teaser for this game. There is a character named Lisa. There is a lot of baby stuff going on in this game. There's Norman Reedus, of course.
Is there any Jared?
Is there any what?
Jared.
No Jareth. No Jareth yet. But that might change.
If I want to say it, if I can add something to this, I think they, when Kojima was given the boot left, I don't know, was he fired or he just left?
No, he was fired.
He was fired, but he was kind of fired while sassing them, so it kind of very much made it seem like he was quitting too.
Well, no. The way it works in Japan is that if you have vacation days or unused paid days, you have to use those up, and he had a shit ton, so he was just kind of hanging out at the company waiting for his days to go away. So he was fired, but he was still there for a while.
Yeah,
I do want to say that Konami at this point has managed to dig itself into some very bad deep holes. Anyway, wanted to say that I'm fairly sure that the reason why you feel that it is PT wanted to be Death Stranded, because I'm fairly sure he kind of recycled ideas from.
Yeah, that's the thing. It probably was a trailer for Silent Hills, which can't exist, so he'll make a not Silent Hills game,
Yeah, it's a very interesting game. So in the game, you walk across America somehow. I literally, the first mission is to travel from DC to basically where Philadelphia is. on foot.
That's a quick trip. Yeah,
That
that's fine.
there's no way anybody can make
That's
that
fine. That's
in any
fine.
reasonable amount of time
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well,
on foot.
obviously.
Oh, by the way, Dracologist, for the record, that's probably like, what, 2.5 hours by car? Is that right,
I
Vice?
know that the United States is
Philadelphia
very
to
large.
DC is more like 3.5 to 4.
3.5?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure, because it's like 3, probably from like the area of New Jersey I live, so I wasn't sure how far out Philadelphia is compared to that.
It's like
you-
3.5
Philadelphia
to 3,
is south,
maybe.
but it's also west.
Yeah,
you know that-
it's about the same.
If you know the game, The Crew, then you would know that the United States was shrunk a couple of times.
The United States has always shrunk. I mean, the real thing is like continental Europe. Like, you're not gonna do that in your game.
Yeah, just if I may say something about Death Stranded,
Go for it.
just wanted to say that it kind of reminds me of Elite, if you know that game.
Elite. Yeah,
And
like
Elite.
the space simulator.
Yes,
Yep.
because that's what it has a very similar, like you're playing Postman Pat in the post-apocalypse.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that. So the game is very combat adverse, or at least from the beginning it is. So the focus is on delivering packages from way station to way station, and running errands for people, and you get that kind of that feeling, that isolation feeling, and that kind of loneliness feeling of being out on the road by yourself and carrying those things for a while and not seeing anything and kind of trying to trudge over environments and things like that. So I can see why somebody wouldn't like to do that, because you are running errands for people.
It's like Desert Bus, but not a joke.
No, Fetch Quest the game, I would say.
Yeah,
Well, fetch quests, yeah, but you're just trudging across this giant landscape.
I mean, the gameplay is in the fact that you have to manage your inventories. Like, everything that you pick up along the way has weight, and it will.
It's Demon Souls.
Not only that, but it will shift your center of gravity depending on where it is on your body.
Oh, Jesus Christ, come on. It's
So-
such a Kojima thing to do.
So the entire game is basically balancing like your load on your back and making sure you don't fall over and like destroy your packages by falling over.
This is one of those things that sounds like it would be easier to manage in real life than it would with a video game interface.
Well, it is and it isn't. You know, it's one of those things like you can optimize your load in the screen to be in like a shape that is easy to travel with, but then you also have to like manage your center of gravity by pressing L2 and R2, and later on you get vehicles, so it becomes a much
I
more.
was wondering about that. Like, how post-apocalyptic is this? Like,
It's
because there's
very
technology, you've got a weird radar backpack, but you're on foot.
Yeah, so it is post-apocalyptic, but there is a lot of advanced technology in the game. So it's
Okay.
it's not I wouldn't say that it's like, Mad Max or anything like that. The resources are tight, but there are a lot less people
Oh, okay.
so therefore the resources really aren't being fought after. There are bad guy. There are people that try to steal your packages, but they aren't like the main focus.
Okay.
They aren't the main focus. There are those guys are called mules because essentially the game is a pack mule simulator.
I was gonna say, aren't you a mule?
Yes, mules are the bad guys, but you are a porter, which is a good mule.
Wow, what do you know? Your name is Porter.
Well, that is actually kind of the thing. In the lore of the game, like, everybody's name is given to them based off of what they do. So
So it's like old school real life.
correct. So the reason why his last name is Bridges in this is because he's working for the Bridges company. So he needs to identify himself as such. So he is Sam. That's his actual name. Porter, which is what he does, and Bridges, which is the company he's affiliated with.
What's amusing though is that you're also bridging gaps according to Kojima himself. So that's
Yes.
just like obviously that's not a coincidence in real life, but it's a coincidence in universe.
Yes. No, it's not a coincidence. They actually point it out.
Okay.
No, they call it that on purpose in the game. So, the goal of the game is to get into contact with all of the waypoints, and also do errands in order to have all of those waypoints get more abilities, like to construct new things like bridges across chasms and bridges across rivers.
So like, is this entire game kind of like building like a nationwide like mother base?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly right. It's unusual in that you're not going to be shooting guns in this game. The combat is very limited because you're not really supposed to be fighting much. So, like I said, there are enemies that will try to steal your packs and things like that. But you have a basic like punching system. You won't be shooting them with an AK-47 or anything like that.
There are
you won't be guiding a Nikita missile in first person.
No, nothing like that. You don't have military hardware like that.
Yeah, but what were you saying?
What I heard is there are firearms, but it's kind of disencouraged to use it.
Yeah, I mean the idea of the game is supposed to be like a peace building effort. Like what you are doing is supposed to be for the good of the country. So you're not supposed to be, a military person or a homicidal maniac that kills a lot of people. You're supposed to be bringing everybody together, not pushing everybody apart.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say what you were doing in Metal Gear Solid 3 was supposed to be for the good of the country.
Well,
also like the supernatural events that kind of wreck the place. It has kind of connection with the dead people, so you don't want to make more.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, anybody who dies can be essentially, if they are left out for 2 days after they die, they have the potential to attract like these gigantic things. I don't even know what they are at this point, and they leave a gigantic crater behind after they eat your body. So you do not want to die in this world, and if anybody dies, you have to get rid of that body immediately. You have to burn it, or else it will become a problem. It is. I mean, if running errands for the good of a nation, and you can enjoy that kind of isolation feel, it in all intents and purposes is the real walking simulator. There's something to the loneliness and isolation that feels good if you are into that. Kind of like that game for PS3. What was that called? When you're walking around.
Journey.
Journey, yes. So it kind of has a journey feel to it. Like there are poignant moments when you're walking through the environments, and it will play like a new song that kind of resonates with what you're doing at that time. It has a batshit insane story with all kinds of weirdness in it. And that is the reason to play it. However, if you are going to look for a traditional video game experience where you're like, shooting things and there's different combat, the majority of this game is the mechanics is inventory management and kind of like floating. Did you say?
Traipsing, I must say.
Traipsing, yeah, walking, trying to find the best route to do something in, and doing side quests if you want them to, and seeing all kinds of weird stuff along the way. I mean, Conan O'Brien's in the freaking game. I mean, Jeff Keighley's in the freaking game. Guillermo del Toro is a main character. Yeah, so
I can imagine,
it's definitely weird.
like someone who plays a lot of Minecraft and someone who knows like people who like again Elite is not like a game where you engage enemies on will. Like you play you're a space trucker essentially. You pick up cargo, you go
fight
through
when you
space,
have to.
or if you do some contract, and if you have when you are in an unwanted encounter with pirates or
Sure.
whatever.
That's what I mean.
You
fight
and
when
you
you
can
have to.
sometimes just go out in space and explore, like just see the stars and various things. Like you can see like interesting generated environments. Like there are two stars so close to each other, you could see one from the other surface.
Sure.
If you would stand on it, and it's kind of give me that kind of vibes, like Death Stranding. And also, I get a feeling that this will be an ideal podcast game. Like when you play a game and you just listen to some podcast while no story happening, and you just
sure, yeah,
traveling through the environment.
For sure. I'm to the point in the game where it's opened up a little bit, so I can do side quests more freely. Like, it's not explaining to me how to play the game anymore. It's not like every mission is not a critical mission. I could start doing subquests. So it's definitely to the point where I'm like, oh well, maybe I'll run some errands and upgrade my bases, that kind of thing.
Between repairing your boot from entropy rain and giving your baby a shake.
Yeah. So yeah, you actually have a thing called a BB, which is a baby that somehow helps you detect the Death Stranding, which are the souls of the dead when they can't get back to their bodies, which is part of the reason why those big things come and try to eat the dead bodies. It's very hard to understand, and I've only hit the tip of the iceberg on what's going on in that game. But yeah, you want to avoid them at all costs, and the baby helps you detect them, essentially. And they only show up when it's raining, and the rain advances time when it lands on you. It's very odd.
It kind of causes everything to age rapidly, like entropy.
Yes, exactly.
Like what I saw, like if you get the big monsters get attracted if you get caught by the souls of the lost. Drags you into an alternate reality where the monsters are, and you don't want to be there ever.
Yeah, then like these gigantic whales come after you and try to kill you. Yeah.
Squid whales.
I am literally explaining this. I'm not. It's very difficult to explain. You just have to see it.
Yeah, I can hear Lotus like steaming. I can feel it.
What do you mean?
Spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to know much more, honestly.
Well, that's okay. I wasn't going to go much more into it, but knowing that you can tell whether you can put up with the game or not, because it is not your typical game in that sense, and in any other game, the main mechanics here would probably be a side mechanic. It would be a small part of some other game. But in this game, it is the game. So it's a little bit unusual in that regard. So therefore, it is my pick for an acquired taste game. How about you guys? Do you have anything that you would like to point out as a game where you're like, this takes some getting used to, or it takes a specific type of person to like this?
Well, as far as the West is concerned, the entire visual novel genre.
Okay.
Because a lot of people aren't really into it. They're like, well, where's the gameplay? And like, you got to get your like mind and kind of the right mindset
to
look what you're getting. It's kind of like we've talked about this 100 times before, but you know when a sequel to something comes out, but like Zelda 2, where it plays very differently, and it's not a bad game, it's just that you're disappointed because it was something that you didn't think it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you go into a visual novel knowing that it's like a novel with some degree of choice and maybe a little bit of gameplay, you can have a lot of fun with we talked about a few of these already on Reactive this week, but if you're prepared to play a book, then you'll be in for a really good time, especially the stuff like 428 that plays with the concept of it being a visual novel. It's not just pressing X till you get to the end of the game, which some visual novels really are. But
yeah, I think
this manipulates like the past and the future and stuff. It's fantastic.
The When They Cry series is
Higurashi is just press X until you reach the end.
Yeah, it's just
literally just a video book.
Reading a book. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I would say the entire genre of visual novels.
Yeah, I mean, even the ones with like a significant gameplay element, still that a lot of times the gameplay element is what gets in the way of it actually being better.
Yeah. Well, no,
like
I will say though,
series.
even when the gameplay is pretty good, like Danganronpa, for when it's relevant,
sure,
it's still primarily a visual novel.
Oh, I completely agree. How about you, Dracologist? Do you have a choice here that you would like to talk about?
I'm thinking, but acquired taste game.
Call of Duty. You gotta get used to it.
I would never touch that with a 10-meter barge pole held by a fucking remote-controlled drone.
So what are you saying? That you would need to acquire a taste for it before you liked it?
I would say that there is no... that you can't acquire taste for that, but...
Yeah. I just don't care. I'll watch a friend play it, I guess.
I don't know.
Kingsfield, obviously. That
I
actually
guess
legitimately
games
is
like
a part.
Minecraft and Terraria would be like something like, it's not straight into the action. Starbound and similar.
Well, that's true. Like, when do I beat it? It's like, it's not really the point.
There's also other games like Stardew Valley, Slime Rancher.
Yeah.
And games like that. Like, for someone, it's not an action game, but it's kind of like put you into a sort of a zone
Yeah.
when everything starts.
Yeah, a little bit.
Stardew Valley is extremely popular, and I know it's good, but it is not for me.
Yeah, that's another one of those games. Like it and the Harvest Moon series are popular now, but when they first came out, that must have been so weird. Like, you're farming for what purpose? Like, no, that's pretty much what you're doing. You're just chilling out, and maintaining your farm.
You just get money for the crops, and you get money to buy bigger areas to harvest, and you harvest for bigger crops. And it's just a self-feeding loop.
Yep. Actually, you know what I would also throw in there? Two more things. The entire roguelite genre, because that took some getting used to. Where, like...
Well, even rogue
I died
games
and I had to start over?
Rogue games in general, like... When I
Rogue
first...
is even more of an acquired taste. Those things are rough.
Yeah, like my first exposure to rogue-like games was Forbidden Labyrinth on the Genesis when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I was just like, this is bullshit. Like, I die constantly, and like, everything changes all the time. What's the point of this?
Yeah, for me it was Baroque. Like, I had no idea what was going on, and it didn't help that game was fucking impossible to understand anyway. Like, at a glance.
Game was crazy.
I would also the Dark
Souls like.
I was gonna say that. The whole Soulsborne genre. Like, now they're mega popular, but like when they first came out, it was like, these games bring back Nintendo hard, and like they're rough as hell to get into. Enemies will even early game enemies will kick your ass. So, like, I said Kingsfield kind of as a joke earlier because I keep bringing up Kingsfield, but it's the same thing. Like, anything will 3-shot you from the moment you turn the game on, and you're like, are you fucking kidding me? But if you can get used to it and get into it, it's quite rewarding.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I knew that the Souls games were good. I really tried to like Dark Souls the first time around when it had originally come out, and it just did not click with me, and I tried and I got my ass beat, and I wasn't having any fun, so I stopped playing.
That'll happen. You know what the funny thing is, though, is like, if when you like by the time you beat the game, it's like a lot of games. Like even if you don't do a new game plus, even if you do a totally fresh new game, you're gonna wonder how the hell you ever had trouble with like the Taurus demon and stuff like that. It's pretty funny.
You just need to learn how to play that style of game, because once you master like Dark Souls 1's way of playing, or even Demon Souls, even if you master like, hey, I don't want to be a big clunky guy because I want to be able to get behind a guy and backstab him. Like, that's very important. If you want to play that way, that's also part of what makes the game hard, because there are so many different ways to play those games. They're highly customizable, and all of the paths you take are very divergent. So even finding a style of play that suits you, you don't even know whether it suits you. Until you really dive into it. So now that I've played Dark Souls 1, I think Dark Souls 2 won't nearly be as hard for me. And
it's not going to be as hard as if you'd never played a Souls game before, but it will change some things up on you.
Well,
simply circling behind some enemies and backstabbing them is not as easy as it used to be.
Undoubtedly, but I will know its general language.
You know how to play.
Exactly. So I love the original Dark Souls now, but I knew it was one of those things that was just like, I need to let this click for me. And it took a while, and it also took me having to play it several times in order for it to actually click,
Yeah, like, also, this is just like Kingsfield. If you play the Souls games with a guide, so you know, like, where the items are and everything, because it's very difficult to spoil the games, especially if you don't pay attention to any story. It's just another boss. But if you know where to look for the hidden stuff and everything, and you know what way you're supposed to be going for a more reasonable progression of the story, like not going into the catacombs immediately, where you get the shit beat out of you, it makes the games way more accessible.
I would also like to point out some bullet hell games as well, because bullet hell games are very difficult to get into. The thing about bullet hell games is that there are some that are way easier than others. They're all pretty difficult, but the ones that are very, very, very difficult are like almost impossible. Like, very few people can actually beat them. I would say that the best way to play them is actually kind of start off like in chronological order as to like how they were developed. It's kind of funny because like each game is trying to one up the other.
Well, that's how I play like any series.
Yeah,
you get to see how the mechanics evolve.
But this is a genre. This is a genre. Like
that's fair.
This is like you should be really starting out with, like games during the late 90s. Like Radiant Silvergun and things like that are a little bit easier to play and are a little bit more manageable, and then go into Escaluda 2 and all those other crazy ones.
I just want to say that my problem with the bullet hells that they make all this gorgeous artwork for it, and then you always have to glare at your own ship just so you can inch away from bullets. It's like, What's the point? Why did you make a gorgeous like animated hell beast of a gunship that you're fighting against when I can't look at it?
Yeah, no, it's very true. You have to be paying attention to your own character almost exclusively.
That reminds me of very cinematic QTE events in any game. Like, I'm looking for the prompts. Like, that really long scene where Leon knife fights Krauser in Resident Evil 4, and you can't really watch it because there are so many prompts. Like, I remember first feeling that with the original Dark Cloud. There's so much cool shit happening, and I have no idea what it is because I'm concentrating on like the DDR button prompts.
Yeah. No, I'm totally there with you.
I guess the one method is just to record it and just watch it back.
Pretty much, yeah.
I might add that like a lot of the games that Lotus and I play are acquired taste games to begin with. I mean,
Yeah.
Suda 51 games are all almost exclusively, except for maybe Lollipop Chainsaw and Shadows of the Damned.
Well,
those feel most accessible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would say that those are a little bit too eccentric. That like they do too much differently, and they can very hard to categorize. Like with trying,
Yeah.
I think if we were looking for acquired taste, we'd have to go like. I didn't thought I would play this type of game genre, but after trying this and this, I get into one would be more
Oh,
like
sure.
there is no other game like Killer 7. I just want to say that.
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna mention Killer 7 specifically.
Yeah, that one is really weird.
because
It's
like,
a very odd game.
And the story is all over the place.
Yeah, and you still probably won't understand it by the end of it.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you have to like go on the internet and look up like wikis,
theories, things like that.
or even better for
do
like Drakengard to Nier, you have to look up like the fan translated Japanese only like online article that discusses
I
it.
want to ask, like, if I would say, like, I don't like playing soccer, but I did enjoy Rocket League, like, that can be considered as acquired taste?
I wouldn't say that because Rocket League is an insanely popular game.
Acquired taste, I imagine, like you try it
No.
and you're like, I don't know if I like this, and then like you eventually learn to like it.
Yeah,
Like it'd be like if you don't like soccer and you played FIFA and you're like, yeah, but I don't like soccer though. But after a couple sessions, you're like, you know what, this is fun.
yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree.
Okay, fair enough.
Because you have to acquire the taste.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think I got like a lot of the ones that I was thinking because like these types of games can be very off-putting to somebody who doesn't either have an open mind or just doesn't work for them. It's kind of hard to judge a game like that because if you're reviewing something, you're also reviewing it for somebody else. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why you say what you like and don't like about it, and don't do that bullshit number system that doesn't mean anything because it's not standardized.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what you have to do in this case because the game is for Death Stranding. It's a AAA title that is going to ultimately be bashed by a lot of people, but there's also a ton of other people that are going to love it.
And well, not to mention, I bet you this game gets lower grades than it's going to deserve, and the grades like come back up like 3 years later because everyone was like expecting some derivative or some derivation of Metal Gear Solid, and that's not what they got.
I actually think it's going to be the other way around. I think it's getting decent scores right now. I think people in 5 years are going to bash it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the part that is most enjoyable is everything surrounding the gameplay.
Okay.
So the story, the character designs, the world building, all that stuff is really, really good. All of the weirdness of the game is very enticing, but the actual gameplay is the least remarkable. Like,
okay.
But you like I said, you have to understand that the game wants you to feel like you're doing that. Like the game wants you to feel like you're running the errand because that's what you are doing.
Yeah.
So you have to be okay with it being authentic to the job that you're doing. And it takes a special player to realize that. It's just one of those things. There are people coming out saying, like IGN's review of it is is in the 6s. I think it's a 6.5 or something like that. There are people that are saying that it's the best game they played all year. There are the opinions of it are all over the place. It's really bizarre.
So far, I've seen Jim Sterling's review, Young Year Zero, and I'm waiting for the zero punctuation one.
I'm sure Jim Sterling doesn't like it at all.
No, he said it like, I like it, but I had to stop playing it.
Yeah.
Fair
Like
enough.
he said like this is what happens when too much, like when an author gets to like no restriction.
Yeah.
And he said like all the sort of mobility faffing about like the balancing, it was like getting on his tits.
Yeah, I mean, throwing a number 2 grenade that is made from your own fecal matter.
That's not it. The fact that you constantly is balancing and stumbling, it was. He said like the micromanage, like he doesn't seem to like the micromanaging part.
Yeah, there is. It does get easier once you get the flow of it. The micromanaging part, but yeah, I get it. I get it. That's actually part of the reason why I thought Metal Gear Solid 3, which is probably the most the best Metal Gear Solid game that he ever made. I thought that game was an acquired taste because there is a lot of micromanaging in that game in terms of like healing. Like it really went into in depth like how I should heal my character and like the specific body parts that you know what you need to do there and all that stuff.
Do you have the bandage strips? Do you have the splints? This and that.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you get to find out that it's a lot quicker than you think. But when you first look at it, you go, "What the fuck is this? I'm not doing this every time I get shot." But really, you could just hit X a whole bunch of times and it'll auto do it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Dark Corners of the Earth. Like that Call of Duty Dark Corners of the Earth.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They had a somewhat similar healing system.
Mm-hmm. Any other ones that you want to point out before we move on to our community segments here?
No, I'm good.
Not really. Little Dragon Cafe.
All right, well, take it away then, Lotus.
All right, so we got a couple comments. Both of them were about the use of inns in video games. So Dracologist, who is here right now, said, in Pathologic, you need to sleep, or else you get weaker and become easier prey to the sand plague. So that's fair enough.
Speaking of acquired taste.
Yeah, right.
You need to do that in Death Stranding too. You need to sleep and you need to go to the bathroom and shower.
Yeah, but it ends specifically though.
It's
and then Sabrina Hengel.
Nothing. Yes.
Okay, so Sabrina Hengel says, I make sure to stay at the inns in the Tales of games because most of the time that's how you unlock skills and conversations between characters or additional side quests. That's a compelling reason.
Oh, sure.
I don't think I'm used to playing the Tales games that did that. I think they would come up like on the field or something, but I only ever played Symphonia and Eternia, so like there's like 1,000 Tales of games past that, so I didn't know that was the thing. Alright, and the question is from Vakafon. Has there ever been a more valuable common household item in video gaming than bottles in Zelda? That's a tough one. I might even say no.
They are very useful.
Yeah. Like just a bottle.
We're talking about, is it general gaming or in Zelda? Just
in gaming in general.
Yeah.
Because the bottles in Zelda are freaking amazing.
Back to Pathologic, you can actually, as one way to get money actually. Because you can load up empty bottles you find in a trash with water and give it to drunkards who are like just want something to drink. So you can get money from them. That's pretty
fantastic. That's quite good.
Bottle.
I would think pieces of wood are very useful. Just because
is it a common household item?
Well, it depends on how old your household is. What if you need wood to keep your house warm?
Oh, like firewood?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I was gonna say you could use that as a weapon. You can build things with it.
Yeah, but like, are there games that let you do all those things?
Sure.
I would say
Don't
something
starve.
like.
If like Don't Starve, I haven't played that.
Considering like the most like I watched several like similar this sort of survival games, I would say a knife.
Yeah, knives.
Like I watched some like Commander Seth Orban play through the entirety of Subnautica through streams, and the knife the sort of the survival knives you can make is impeccably useful, and this gets a very neat upgrade later on the game. And again, like crowbar is very useful because it can be used for combat, it can be used for leverage, it can be used for various purposes. Very simple tools. Very simple tools are very useful, like knife and a hammer.
Did you ever read that
Yes.
that book Hatchet?
Yeah, it was a good one.
Geez, having that hatchet was like the thing that saved his life. Like he
everything.
literally did everything with it.
Yeah.
He started fires with it. He cut it. He hunted with it.
This
He cut
kind of
down.
reminds me, like there is a Warhammer 40k meme about like the brilliance of the orc chopper, which is like a very simple axe, and it's like like what does the orc use for it? In like cooking, chopping, cutting, picking nose, and it is just like what is this kind of actions, and all the same is that's the same simple as if like tribalistic axe. Well, not tribalistic, but sort of this clutch together axe.
Actually, here's a question: would you consider like a cell phone or a smartphone to be a common household item?
Yeah.
No.
Because like, if that counts, then
It's one of the most useful
6,
things.
Yakuza 6 and Judgment, where it's like your menu and how you save.
It's the same in Saints Row too, but
Yeah, there you go. Like, the
think
game's like unplayable without it.
one of the games, like I think Siberia was the game where you could do stuff with your phone.
Yeah, like there's a boss fight, like a secret boss fight in Judgment, where in phase 1 of the fight, the guy tries taking your phone, and if he does, all of a sudden you can't pause, you can't access your items except for ones that were already set to hotkeys. It's like the worst.
Wow. Well, I think we explored that pretty well. Do you have any other things you want to bring up when it comes to that question?
I don't think so. Like,
Most useful item.
bottles are top tier.
Oh, I mean, water itself is extremely useful too. But yeah,
Well, yeah, but that's not like an item.
I guess. Yeah.
Unless you mean like a bottle of water or something.
Well, then that's just a bottle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
One item of water, please.
Yeah. Do you have any water? I have 3 waters.
John Waters.
Do you have it in plain?
Play any point and click adventure games and see which tool sticks with you the
Oh,
most.
there's so much mundane shit that like is absolutely necessary in
No,
point and
no.
click
Rubber
adventures.
chicken with a pulley in the middle.
Yes.
No,
obviously.
I was like, there was like what I said, like look which tools stick with you the most and which you use the most. In one of the games, for example, a hammer sticks with you a lot.
Yeah.
Same with like an axe or even a piece of one of the games I played had like it maybe because it was the character's lucky item, but a coin, and you can use it like to distract enemies. You can use it to unscrew corks.
In Grim Fandango, your scythe, which is for your job, that was quite useful. You cut things, surprise, but it's also like you can use it as like a pole arm to like pull things over or pull yourself over, like because it's a long-reaching thing. It was surprisingly versatile. Like I thought it'd be one of those games where you use it at the very beginning and then surprise at the very end, but no, it's practical pretty much throughout. It's great.
So yeah.
Well, I think that pretty much rounds us out for this discussion. So, without further ado, I will get us into our outros. That is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Fakafon, we love that guy. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, and Switch.
You can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, like The Cat Lady, or getting involved in discussions between me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And Dracologist.
And you can find me on Skype, Steam, and Discord. Hello.
You can't catch him on YouTube. He tried last episode, but he just flubbed it. He messed it up.
It's all over.
Game over, man. Game over. All right. Well, we'll catch everybody on Tuesday for another episode of Reactive.
Until next time, everyone.
Good evening.